update. Earlier I mentioned when I was updating my user records, I got those user record IDs. So every single record in Salesforce has a Salesforce ID. It's either 15 characters or 18 characters in length, depending on where you're accessing the ID from, how you're getting it. But every single record has a record ID, and that is what we recommend as a best practice for the unique identifier when you're updating data. So Salesforce is sure to update the appropriate records. As I mentioned, really good idea to start small with a test batch, preferably in a sandbox if possible. So test it out in a sandbox, make sure everything goes smoothly. Never would I recommend, hey, this is my first foray with a data loader. Let's see what happens with 5 million records. It's also a best practice if you have to update existing records, not to do this during normal business hours. Because if you're updating while a user is editing, basically whomever is done first is the winner. So if they save after your job, then they're the winner. If your job runs after they save, then you're the winner. Last, deactivate workflow rules. This could be process builder. This could be other automation. In general, if you have automation that is going to fire as a result of an insert or an update or an upsert, if you're using data loader, since you don't have that option to say, do I want to trigger those workflow rules or not? With data loader, you need to manually deactivate this prior to the import or update. And this is another reason to do it after hours, because I don't really want periods of time, chunks of time during business hours when people are actively using the system. I don't want my automation tools kind of down. Those are your best practices. Keep in mind some reasons your records might fail. If it doesn't meet validation, which we'll talk about shortly. If you have a restricted pick list and you don't have the right value for the pick list, those are some things that could cause records to fail. Now, what about backing up your data? Admins should be backing up data on a regular basis, but especially before you're making a big change. Maybe I'm about to do a big update with data loader. That's a really good time to have a nice fresh backup just in case anything goes wrong. If you have that backup, you'll just sleep better at night. You'll feel more confident. You won't be as anxious doing that update. Here are some ways, some native options for backing up your data. So you might find other tools on the App Exchange. These are just native options to be aware of. The first, the simplest, and the manual option is to export a report. So our last lesson today, we will talk about reports, and you can choose to export those reports. This is something I do if maybe in our example, we're about to delete a custom field. I just need to export it to have a quick backup of my specific data, maybe all of the records that have a value for that field. But this process is going to be manual. I can also use data loader. And data loader, again, is getting specific data, can be manual or can be automated. Now, data loader is nice. Maybe I need to get all of my account data and I want to just default to include all of the account fields. I can do that with data loader. You can select all fields, and that's pretty simple. I can also set a weekly or monthly data export service. And this is a really nice option for a regular backup, a complete set of your data for archiving. So this is my regular backup option. This process is automated and really does allow you to get a complete set of your data. Here's how it works. This is what it looks like. You can schedule exports and specify when you want to receive them. So it really allows you to get all of your data, because you see these options at the top. Do I want to include images, documents, attachments, chatter files, CRM? So this is what I mean by a complete set of your data. I can choose to get this weekly or monthly, the day of the week I want it, and a preferred start time. Once my data is ready, I will get an email. And that email contains a link to a zip file. And that's where I go grab my data. So I have 48 hours to grab my data. After 48 hours, regardless of whether I grabbed it or not, it's gone. So 48 hours is how long I have to actually grab my data. We saw validation in our last lesson on automation. Now we actually get to talk about it just for a few slides, talking about the basics of validation. And after that, we are almost done with this lesson. This is a really quick one. Validation. You have system validation as well as custom validation. System validation and custom validation. System validation has to do with three things. First of all, the data type of the field. Data type of the field. Meaning, we'll use my puppy example again. If I have a currency field, my user won't be able to type the word puppy in. That is the data type of the field. That's a form of system validation. We can also make certain fields required or mark certain fields as unique. These are your two other options for system validation. And again, in the order of execution, system validation runs first. For system validation, if you make a field required on the field itself, this is what we call a hard requirement. It's universally required. Whether someone's editing in the interface, loading with data loader, it's always required. It's automatically added to all page layouts. You can't hide it. You can't prevent people from editing it. And you can't do this for checkboxes or long text area fields. Again, this is a hard requirement. Only choose this option if you absolutely always need data in that particular field. Then there's an option only for email, number, and text fields, the ability to mark a field as unique. Now, this is another option to prevent duplicates. So let's go back to my example of the lead email. Maybe I mark my lead email field unique. And if I do that and I have you in my system as a lead already, and someone else tries to add you again as a lead, it will prevent them from saving if your email is the same on both records. So prevents duplicates, or existing duplicates will cause an error. For text fields, you can choose if you want to treat them as case sensitive or case insensitive. So again, system validation, data type of the field, whether it's required or whether it's unique. But you might have kind of more specific scenarios for validation, and that's when you can write your own custom validation rules. Custom validation, some people say this allows you to prevent your users from saving bad data, which is accurate, but I like to clarify, prevents your users from saving really anything other than what you want them to save. So in this example, we don't want my users adding a discount percentage that's greater than 25%. So to create this validation rule, we write a formula. It's a Boolean statement that evaluates to be true. And it took me a long time to get used to this. Still to this day, when I write my formula, I am tempted to write it based on what I do want my users to do. But you need to write your formula in order to generate the error condition. You need to write your formula based on what you don't want your users to do. So every time I write a validation rule in my head, I'm thinking, don't let my user save if, and this one, let's look at it. Don't let my user save if the discount percentage is greater than 20%. So if that is true, that's when I write a custom error message and I display that to my users and I prevent them from saving. So that's my custom validation. Really quickly, our mass delete option, the recycle bin, and then we're on to our last lesson. So mass delete is an option available right in setup. Again, doesn't work for all objects. So mass delete, I can search for that and I can mass delete a set of records, or I can mass delete with data loader or dataloader.io. Again, not the import wizard, doesn't delete, doesn't export, but data loader or dataloader.io work. When records are deleted, again, unless they are permanently deleted, when they're deleted, they first go to the recycle bin. and they can hang out here for up to 15 days, from which I can view them, I can restore them, which is an undelete, or I can permanently delete them from there. I can empty the recycle bin or choose to permanently delete. The mass delete option. I can quick find this in setup. It shows me records to be deleted. So I can check, I can keep an eye on any child records that will go with them. And of course, it reminds me that a best practice is to back up my data first. So let's see what that looks like. Mass delete records. Again, doesn't work for all objects. So if it's an object I want to work with that I don't see here, that's when I would turn to data loader or data loader IO. But let's look at my mass delete leads. Step 1, review what happens. All activities associated with my leads get deleted as well. We strongly recommend you run a report to archive your data. And then I can find leads based on specific criteria. So maybe I'll look up state, province. Yeah, that one should work. Equals, let's see what happens here, CA. And just this one. So maybe if I want to get rid of this one, I can choose to select it. I can delete here, and I can permanently delete. So if I check this permanently delete, it skips the recycle bin. It is gone after this. So I only want to choose this if I've made a backup. Even if I do have a backup, I don't usually choose that option. I can't really make myself do it. I like to have the extra backup. So there's my mass delete. Last topic here, the recycle bin. Recycle bin is where you view those records you deleted. So I have access to my own recycle bin as well as the whole org recycle bin. So let's also look at this one in the front end of the tool, and I can search for it with my app launcher. So there's my recycle bin. There's the lead I just deleted. And from here with this lead, I can restore it. That's undeleting it. I can delete it from here, which is a permanent delete, or I can empty the whole org's recycle bin, which is sending this stuff to be permanently deleted. It is all gone. So that's your recycle bin. Again, stuff lives there for up to 15 days as long as you don't max out your recycle bin's space. Okay, everyone, we made it to our last lesson of new content. One of my favorite topics, reports and dashboards. So we'll get through this.